United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today's meeting was noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. This commission acts in review and recommending capacity for comprehensive plan amendments, text amendments to the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance, rezonings, and plan developments. The commission has decision-making authority on road name change requests, public project reviews, appeals of administrative decisions on final plats and subdivision matters, as well as other matters pursuant to Chapter 29, Title 6, Section 629, 340 of the Code of Laws of South Carolina as amended. Those of you who wish to speak should have filled out the sheet by the door. I'm Cindy Floyd. I'm chair. To my right, we have Pete Pelotas, Luke Morris, Gary Lassane, and Anna McConnell. Bless you.
Thank you.
And to my left, we have David Kent, Warwick Jones, and Susan Cox. Andrew, would you introduce the staff?
Sure, yep. We have Nikki Grimble and Marche Miller, Wynn Carlisle, Tamara Avery, Stephanie Ondo.
I think that's it.
Yep. Oh, sorry, Chris. I was looking right at you and I thought I said your name. I'm sorry about that.
And Chris. Okay. All right. In order to get a good recording of the meeting for the minutes, please speak loudly and clearly into your microphones, and please don't talk over one another. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the January 12th, 2026 meeting. Is there a motion and a second?
Second.
Want to call the roll, please?
Commissioner Lassane?
Aye.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Aye.
Vice Chair Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox? The ayes have it.
Minutes from the workshop, too.
Did we have separate workshop minutes, Stephanie? Okay, so you another vote on those.
Okay. Do we have a motion and a second for approval of the workshop minutes?
Move to approve.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Lassane?
Aye.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Aye.
Vice Chair Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox? The ayes have it.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is case SBDV-07-25-03150, a request to create a total of 2 lots from one existing lot at tax map number 02900000001, 8340 Shingle Creek Road, a property within 300 feet of Brooklands Plantation, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. President, go ahead.
All right. Good
Please
afternoon.
go ahead.
The subject property here we have for SBDV 03150-0290000-001, 8340 Shingle Creek Road in Edisto Island. Proposal applicant is proposing to take one existing lot and is creating 2 lots. Here we have the future land use map showing the subject property. The current zoning, which is AGR, agricultural residential. Again, current zoning showing the map. The aerial view of the property. The historic property and the buffer, and we can see that the subject property is inside of that 300-foot buffer. The FEMA flood zone. Site photos from Shingle Creek Road, looking at the property as well as to the left and to the right. The corner of Shingle Creek Road and Laurel Hill Road. The plat showing the subdivision, creating those 2 lots. SC State Law Section 6-29-340, functions, powers, and duties of local planning commissions. B, regulations for the subdivision or development of land and appropriate revisions thereof, and to oversee the administration of the regulations that may be adopted as provided in this chapter. And C, an official map and appropriate revision on it showing the exact location of existing or proposed public street, highway, and utility rights-of-way, and public building sites, together with regulations to control the erection of buildings or other structures or changes in land use within the rights-of-way, building sites, or open spaces within its political jurisdiction or a specified portion of it as set forth in this chapter. Charleston County Historic Preservation Ordinance, Section 21-6A, purpose: in order to encourage the preservation of the historic character of historic properties and historic districts, preliminary and minor subdivision plat applications, as defined in the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance, for historic properties/districts and properties located within 300 feet of the historic properties and districts, must be evaluated by the Commission prior to final determination by the Charleston County Planning Commission. Commission evaluation: the Commission shall evaluate each subdivision plat application subject to Section 21-6 subdivision plat application reports for compliance with the cultural resources element of the comprehensive plan. The Commission shall provide a report on the application to the Planning Commission that addresses whether and how the application is or is not consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the cultural resources element of the comprehensive plan. A majority of the HPC members present and voting shall be required. The Commission shall not defer a subdivision plat application, and notices were noticed as required. 3.4.3 Cultural Resources Element Goal. And here we have the CR1 through CR5 element strategies, CR5 through CR10, CR11 through CR15, and Historic Preservation Commission report. All 9 members present of the Historic Preservation Commission stated the proposed subdivision is consistent with the cultural resources element of the comprehensive plan, citing consistencies with the element goal statement and strategy CR1 through CR15. Again, the element goal: cultural, historic, and archaeological resources, unique settlement patterns of traditional low country communities, such as historically African American communities and family settlements, and traditional activities, such as sweetgrass basket making, should be preserved and protected from potential negative impacts of growth and development, and again cited CR1 through CR15. ZLDR, Section 8.3.2, Planning Commission Review, determine whether or not the proposed subdivision is consistent with all requirements of this ordinance and the goals and objectives of the comprehensive plan. Staff recommendation: the AGR, Agricultural Residential Zoning District, implements the agricultural residential policies of the comprehensive plan. The agricultural residential future land use designation states, this land use category consists of rural residential settlement areas that have been subdivided into small properties. Proposed densities generally range from 1 dwelling per acre to 1 dwelling per 5 acres. By right, uses include residential development, agriculture, and other uses necessary to support the viability of agriculture. Appropriate public services and facilities that are consistent with the goals and strategies of this plan should be permitted to ensure sufficient provision of services. Agricultural residential includes settlement areas which are small, older crossroad communities, family lands, typical suburban-style subdivisions, frontage lots along local roads, waterfront developments, and vacant land that has been subdivided for residential use that may or may not yet be built upon. The application complies with all requirements of the Charleston County Zoning and Land Development Regulations Ordinance, including those of the Agricultural Residential Zoning District. Because the application is consistent with both the comprehensive plan and the ZLDR, staff recommends approval. Public input: January 21st, Historic Preservation Commission meeting. The applicant spoke in support, none spoke in opposition. And as of today, for the Planning Commission meeting, as of February 6th, no public input has been received. And notifications were noticed as required.
We appreciate the reports that come from the Historic Preservation Commission and the staff. Are there any questions for the staff from the commission members? Okay. We will now hear public comments. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Please state your name and address before giving your comments.
The first speaker is Will Wright.
Good afternoon. This property, subject property, has been my wife and my primary residence for over 20 years. We've got 2 adult children, and are in process of trying to put the property into a family trust. So as we go down the road, so to speak, that it'll be set aside properly for subdivision between the two children. As I say, this is kind of the final piece of the puzzle as far as putting the family trust together. And, we do it with estate planning purposes and no entrepreneurial or, we're not thinking about selling the property. So with that, I would just ask for your consideration to help us move forward with the plan to subdivide the property and to put it in a trust for our children when we are no longer here. So thank you. We've enjoyed the property and want to make sure that it's passed on to our kids in an appropriate manner. And we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Brooks, right?
The case is now closed to public comment. Is there a motion and a second from the commission?
Like to put forward.
Go ahead.
You go for it.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'll take a
Adam,
Move for approval.
please give us a motion. Okay. Do we have a second? Gary, would
Second.
you like to do that? Okay. Any discussion from the commission? Is there a motion and a second from the commission? We will get that. Is there no discussion? If there's no further discussion, it's time for the vote.
Commissioner Lassane?
Aye.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Aye.
Vice Chair Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox? The ayes have it.
This is the final decision of the Planning Commission. If any person with a substantial interest in a decision of the Planning Commission chooses to appeal this decision, they may do so at the Circuit Court of Charleston County. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 calendar days after today's date. The next item on the agenda is proposed amendments to the zoning and land development regulations ordinance. Marcia Miller is going to present the staff's
Good
report.
afternoon. Today we have proposed ELDR amendments to the short-term rental regulations. The proposed amendments include adding digital notification requirements to be sent to both the parties in interest and the community interest notice list within 15 calendar days of the issuance of limited home rental, short-term rental property zoning permits, and for short-term rental property annual renewal zoning permits. No public input was received for the request, and the proposed amendments were noticed as required. And that's it.
Okay. Any discussion? Should we do a motion first? Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and this is for approval of the language? I was asking Ken since he made that. All right. Okay. Any discussion, any questions from members of the commission? Cooking with gas today. Okay.
We don't have any speakers.
No speakers? Okay. Should we go ahead with the vote? Okay. Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Lassane?
Aye.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell? Commissioner Morris? Vice Chair Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox? The ayes have it.
County Council will hear this request at their public hearing on March 10th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers, and again at their March 19th, 2026 Planning and Public Works Committee meeting at 5 p.m. The request must then undergo 3 readings for approval at council's discretion. The next item on the agenda is the monthly subdivision report. Tamara Avery is going to present.
So we had a preliminary plat submitted that I'm bringing to you all. It's Exchange Landing Phases 2 and 3. It's located on Johns Island off of River Road. TMS numbers 315-0000552 and 004. And the property is approximately 58.3 acres of highland. It's going to be 141 lots. This is, again, phases 1 and 2. or phases 2 and 3, we previously approved phase 1. That is an additional 127 lots. They will be serviced by public water, public sewer, and phase 3 will actually have an amenities center where it'll have a clubhouse, pool, playground area. Any questions?
What was the total number of lots altogether?
So phase 1 was 127, and phases 2 and 3 combined are an additional 141.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we do anything with this? Okay. All right. The last item on the agenda is the chair's remarks. I just want to remind you that a continuing education workshop regarding public input engagement will begin immediately following the conclusion of today's Planning Commission meeting. If there's no further business, anybody have any business they want to bring up? If they know. The meeting of this, should I have a motion for adjournment?
Second.
Okay. Want to call the roll? This is a motion.
Commissioner Lassane?
Aye.
Chair Floyd?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
Commissioner Kent?
Aye.
Commissioner McConnell?
Aye.
Commissioner Morris?
Aye.
Vice Chair Pilatos?
Aye.
Commissioner Cox? The ayes have it.
The Planning Commission will hold its next regularly scheduled meeting on Monday, March 9th, 2026, beginning with the annual meeting at noon in the committee room with continuing education training, followed by the regularly scheduled meeting at 2 p.m. in council chambers. Lunch will be provided. Oh, and also there will be elections for officers of the commission. So you'll be getting a phone call from me. Okay. All right. You ready? Okay. Welcome to the February 9th, 2026 Charleston County Planning Commission Workshop. The workshop has been noticed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. The first item on the agenda is continuing education training.
And so we're going to do a training. Actually, this is a webinar that Nikki did back in August for the company, the software company that makes our public input software. So the comments that you receive on all the cases that come to Planning Commission, in addition to those that go to BZA, Historic Preservation Commission, and Council, and now some other departments are using it to gather public input. This is the software that we now use. We started using it when, Nikki? Yeah, and so Nikki is responsible, the one who's responsible for making it as great as it is. And in fact, the software company just gave her an award. What was the title of your award? Resourceful Innovator. Yes, so good job. Yeah, and it's a very interesting webinar, so yes, enjoy.
Well, I had a lot of great things to say, but Andrea took the wheel. But today's training is titled Rezoning in Action, Community Engagement Builds Trust and Transparency. So this training will discuss how local governments can build trust and transparency and explore real-world strategies for effective community engagement in zoning and land use planning. And let's get it here.
Public input helps you with. If you want to give a little background, I think it'd be helpful for folks to hear kind of how land use works in Charleston County and maybe share a little bit of the process pre-public input.
Sure. So South Carolina state law requires that that folks that are within a certain radius of a subject property must be notified of any upcoming zoning change request, if they're requesting a special exception or a variance from the zoning ordinance, or for cases for Historic Preservation Commission, interested parties are notified if somebody wants to have something done within one of our historic designations, whether it's a district or a single property. So we have our state law requirements for the radius list, but then we also have in our zoning ordinance our own requirements that are built in to notify interested parties. So that would be folks that have signed up to find out everything that's happening in a certain area of the county, or they want every notification that's for cases that are going before one of the specific boards. So it's really, kind of hammered out to be whatever your interest is, which could be all of them. You can be notified via email or letter, depending on which route you were in. Before now, we had always sent out paper letters, which we still do for our radius list. We haven't been able to encompass that yet within public input. Maybe that's in the future. But we've built in all of our existing community interest groups as now they're subscribable. So all of those folks will get our notifications for upcoming cases to these different boards and commissions and county council. We would receive input via email, paper, letters. People would bring in petitions with, handwritten signatures. And then it was our job as staff to compile that in a usable format for the decision-making bodies.
And I think the part that got me was like sometimes that's obviously you can have multiple meetings per case. You're trying to keep track of all the stuff that's in different inboxes, folders,
yes,
papers. Yeah.
Yep. There's one case in particular where I think we had well over 400 comments that came over a series of several months. And they would just come in droves, and trying to keep that organized. Did I print it? Did I not print it? Did I convert it to a PDF? I don't know. Did I put it in? It's just, it seems simple, but it can be a very daunting task to keep up with and make sure everything has been included.
Yes. There's certainly some pressure on some of those cases. I remember you telling me about one where you were posting these things, maybe to the record online, and someone called and said, "Hey, I don't see my comment up there yet." It's like, well, your comment came in late yesterday. We're working on it.
Right. It'll be up tomorrow, I promise.
Yeah. So that's a process that's changing. So maybe that's a good segue into, I think we wanted to break it up today in a little bit, two parts. Like one is, how is it different for residents? What's the resident experience like? And also for you and your team, how has public input changed your process? And what does that look like? So maybe we can kick it off with the resident side here today. And then we've got a few animated things we can share while we're talking through it. Let's see. Yeah. So I think the first part we're showing is the online piece. It looks like it's jumping into a random part of the the animation, but obviously this is more than just online, but we do want to make sure we put a good foot forward for our residents. Here we go. So that's Engage Charleston County. Tell us about this.
Yes. We have this set up where each of our boards or commissions or wherever it is in the process has its own engagement portal. So each portal houses the current or the very recently closed cases that were heard by that particular body. We have it set up where each project page it's pretty simple, but here's
sorry.
the case map. Yep, so the case map. No problem. The case map is really cool because we have our county is about 100 square miles. So it really is a big area. So someone can just go and look at this case map, and each of the dots or areas that are on there are places that have a current or listed case. So, someone is in this area, which is Mount Pleasant. They can kind of zoom out just a little bit and touch on each of the locations, in that general vicinity to see what's going on around them. They don't have to particularly have gotten the agenda or know of a specific case, but they can kind of move around the map and see what's going on.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
So each one kind of rolls up into its own mini portal we talked about briefly. Like, so each of these, the Board of Zoning Appeals, you've got the historic preservation, and a couple of the others have their own portal.
Yes. Yeah, so we actually have a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting coming up. So we have sent out our notifications and we have posted our cases online here. So we do provide a little bit of general information here at the front, just about the meeting logistics, but then each particular case has its own page where someone can go onto it. They can learn about what the request is. There will be a packet of, staff report, presentation, those types of things that are included on each case. And then we try to keep it really simple. So, what area do you live in? What are your comments? And then we include a couple of demographic questions as well. Try not to make it too complicated, so it's not, too much, but just enough.
I'm a doctor, and my passion is to alleviate arthritis pain using nothing but natural methods. Can you guess the top 3 foods that I would recommend you to eat? The first one is olive oil. It has a
So it's kind of a templated approach here. So you've got the typically the map up top. You've got your milestones and different meetings that are coming up. So as a resident, I can see where are we in this process at a glance before I dive right in with my comment, support, or opposed.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So after each of them, we'll go in and we'll update. We'll provide a link to watch a recording. So if they didn't make the meeting, they can still go check it out. And then they can provide comments after the fact as well.
That's great. And I know we'll talk a little bit about those formats, but the location one's unique, and then the demographic module. Love the way you've applied that. This was one of these things where the National Institutes of Health did a study where if you're going to ask demographic questions, typically you see a drop off, but they were able to reduce the drop off by about 30% by telling people why they were asking for this information. So by default, these little modules tend to have a preface, which you guys have baked into the process here too. So same set of questions every case. I guess this is the same module across all those.
Yes. Yep. We try to keep it consistent. So maybe down the road, if we need to notify a group of folks that are in one specific area, then we can use the location features to grab all of their contact information, and look at trends over time. What age of people are participating, what planning area do they live in, or do they own property in, or are they just interested in providing input? Down the road, I feel like that information, we'll be really glad that we captured it early on so that we have it for the entire life of the platform.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, we love kind of building that over time. I know we'll touch on that a little bit with some of our cool data visualizations later. And of course, near and dear to our heart is going beyond the online. How do we embrace that you already have a process that's working today that is not just an online? We don't want to add something to it. We want to recognize that each of these channels is potentially another subsegment of our residents or our constituents, and we want to give them an easy way to participate.
Yes, exactly.
That's great. And so this is set up on every project or every case, right? Just you're automatically spinning these things up for each case.
Yeah, so it's really cool how it's set up where someone, if they don't have a computer or they'd rather just talk, they can call and leave a voicemail comment, and each case has its own project code. So it's all funneled into the same location. Each case has its own specific email address, so folks can just send information directly to there instead of to one staff person or to one general inbox. Everything is going to the place that it needs to be. But the cool new feature is the text option. So you create a text code, and it's the same thing. It's all funneled into the same area. It just gives people options of wherever they are in any part of their day, and they're ready to, make a comment. And they have all of these different ways that they can do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, as a parent, I totally get that.
Right. Sometimes you're meeting, you go to practice, and you're like, "Oh, wait, I have 15 minutes. Let me do this real quick." So try to make it as easy and approachable as possible.
That's great. Well, obviously, this is if you're seeing this for the first time, you're probably saying, "Oh my gosh, all these different channels, all these things to manage." So what's going on? How is this actually easier than before, where people had to show up, and we probably had fewer folks commenting because they had to make the trek to the meeting or otherwise?
Right. So I'd say, setting up a project page and getting all of that, there's a QR code, the text, the phone number, all of that takes me about 5 minutes total to set up a new project. So it's really simple and intuitive to set it up. You don't need to be a tech whiz to you kind of know where you should probably click to look, and then you build your own cadence. But just by using the templates or a previous project that's similar, you can copy all of that over and apply it to a new case or a new project. So the admin experience, my biggest takeaway is that you have everything in one place. So instead of sending emails from your Outlook app and getting phone calls from your telephone or your voicemail system, and then creating a PDF in another system and saving it in your shared drive, and having all of these different locations for things to go live, everything can be done within this platform. So you can look through all of the emails that you're getting. You can tag them. You can pull a report of the emails that you received or that you sent out. Same with the text messages and the voicemails. Those are all transcribed. Yep. So here's a picture of the text messages. So you can look at it in, the format that it would come in and how the questions are asked. And then whenever you get over to the reporting side, it just looks like any other comment. So having these different options, but then pulling it all together in the same format has really been awesome for us. This one in particular, we had a lot of people call in. We have definitely noticed that the older crowd enjoys the voicemail part. The first voicemail we got was so cute. It was a wife and her husband in the background saying, "Now say this. Now say
Don't forget
this."
to tell them.
And it was so cute because, they felt like they had an avenue that they could use that was easy for them. And that's exactly what we did all of this for. So it's been interesting to kind of see how it's evolved, how different cases people will tend to comment in different ways. But it's so cool to see it come across the different avenues.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We've definitely seen some fun anecdotes, especially with voicemail, bringing out folks that were otherwise probably not involved in the process before. Really cool.
File free in the app if you didn't file with us last year. Just file with TurboTax Do-It-Yourself by February.
And one of the other dimensions, I know we want to pull up the map here, but as long as someone shows up either online or they're participating through one of these digital formats where we can pull a location, we're trying to map those folks. And I was thinking back to the conversation we had around how that potentially affects reporting. Obviously, we'll show some reports here in a moment, but how does it change the process to have the location for all the people you're hearing from here?
A lot of cases, and we've had our decision-making bodies ask us before, well, I know you received this many comments, but how many of those comments were people that actually live there? Or how many of the comments were people that just own property there, but they don't actually live there and they might not be affected by something as much as someone that's living within that area where the change may take place? Being able to break that down if it's requested is huge. Otherwise, in the past, it was going through and every single person that provided their address, we'd say, well, we, out of this many letters that we got, this many included their address, and of that number, XYZ are how many live in that neighborhood. So, another benefit is if something is going to happen right there, then we have these folks mapped so we can get in touch with them. At a future date. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that whole compounding nature of this is you're bringing out different voices with each case, but ultimately your database storing all of them for whatever comes down the road. I know we have a couple example reports to pull up here. Who are the typical folks that you're reporting this out to?
So we always provide a report link that's included on our packet of information for the cases. So that link is shared not only with the public, but also with the decision-making bodies.
Great. There we go.
And we try to keep it nice and simple. You can see, a heat map is what this format's in, where you can see where the majority of the comments come from. We love that it includes the folks' names and when they commented. Also, if somebody happens to provide an attachment, you can click directly from this. So the best part is that it's a live document. So we are not, manually adding these comments and updating it for the decision makers and, reprinting things and hoping that our account is up to date. we can receive comments up until a certain time, turn it off if we want or not. And whenever that person goes to click on the link, then it's all up to date right there for them. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back to the Outlook analogy. You're not going, did I export this one?
Yes.
That's great. I love it. And you mentioned the link thing. I know we had a couple of examples of that. So the ability just to share that link, but also, going back to that, hey, can you show us what people said that, lived near this or they're coming from this neighborhood versus maybe own property or from out of town?
Exactly. Also, customizing the date range. So let's say we wanted to narrow it down to folks that had commented before or after one particular meeting, see if the comments changed from, before versus after, or if there were more comments or less comments received. It's nice that you can really customize this to, exactly what you're looking for, or pretty much have it at the tip of your fingertips. If someone were to ask for the information, you could say, oh, hold on, let me see what I can, put together on this report, go do some filtering and get the information that you need.
Awesome. And I know some of the folks on the call are probably wondering, yeah, but I want my spreadsheet. I too am a spreadsheet nerd. I love getting in there and slicing, dicing, doing pivot tables. Same filters, same power tools are there. Yeah, it's out there. You can. We don't have that in the slides today, but we're here for it too.
Yep. We started with the spreadsheet and then we quickly moved to the dynamic reports for that very reason. Wait, the spreadsheet is what we know, but then, but there's other options. We don't have to do that anymore.
Gosh, yeah, the real-time thing. I love that the board has embraced that. Was there any initial but I like it the old way, or I guess were there things you had to do? They were pretty embracing.
It's almost been like a gradual process. I guess the first step was a few years ago when we moved them from printed binders of information to iPads, which was groundbreaking, especially because we have a 9-member council. So that means we have 9 council members, 9 members on each of those boards. That's so much paper. If it's a case that has a ton of comments, we were constantly swapping out those pages, adding pages to them times 9. I mean, it was a huge organizational feat. But with this, they have the link and, then they can access it from wherever they are. So if they're on the go, they can pull up, the link on their email, on their phone. They can, scroll through. They can look at it on an iPad, computer, whatever is available at the time that they're ready to receive the information. It's right at their fingertips. So that's really been huge.
That's great.
Build a website you love with Wix. For your words.
Yeah, I can. My dad served on city council for a number of years. I remember the speed reading right before the meeting of I got to get through the packet. That's certainly you can have it on the phone.
We don't like to hear that people do that, but we do know it happens.
We're all human. We're just trying to get through all the things we have on our list, right?
Right.
Well, we wanted to talk a little bit about communication. So one of the unique things about public input is we've spent a lot of time and effort to build in this whole communication stack into it. So what does that look like for you guys? I know we have a case queued up here. Maybe we can kind of frame it out around a use case.
Sure. So this 10-mile community overlay zoning project, that's one that we actually are right in the middle of. So it started out as a series of 3 community meetings that started about a year ago. And now it's actually going before our planning commission. So that's kind of the first step of the project being adopted by county council. So instead of doing a new project or a new page for each of those meetings, we just kept it all within the same one project. So the codes never changed. The email address has stayed the same over the last year. We have been able to send out these notifications. So you see here, we had the 3 different meetings. We actually had a freak ice storm. So we had to cancel at the last minute. So we were able to just hop on there, grab all the people that we had sent the notification to before, and then resend them, notice that we had to reschedule. It makes it so easy, but also, looking at the bigger picture, this is all contained within that project. So, we'll probably have at least 4 notifications, I'd say, going out through the planning process to get it adopted. So let's say in 5 years we need to amend this this overlay district, and we want to go back and see, well, what did people originally say, like at that first community meeting? What were their comments, and what have we changed from there? It's all contained within this project through the life of it. So for archival purposes, and for those of us that are real data nerds and want to maintain the data, it's so awesome that it can be contained within this one thing, and you don't really have to worry about formats changing or staff changes that, maybe this person saved it this way and in this folder, but following staff came up with a new way to do it. Here, it is what it is. Like, it's all here. This is what we sent. This is what we had posted. It doesn't really matter what changes in between now and then. So this has been a huge benefit to be able to have these notifications built in and easy access to send them out.
Absolutely. And in terms of like what that looks like, we've got a quick example here. A lot of these GIFs are kind of like, we're getting into the slide halfway through the animation, but we'll see it loop back around here. Essentially, the things you're used to in terms of tracking emails are all here. The added benefit of all of this is like it's tying back to all those profiles. So if someone participates through that email, if they open the email, all that's kind of logged onto their profile, so we can understand who's engaging, even where we're getting engagement from. And some of that can be helpful, helping us understand like where the gaps might be and who we're reaching. But ultimately, the wins here, it sounds like, are just having it in one place. Which makes it
right. And I guess unfortunately or not, some folks, let's say there's a FOIA request that comes up down the road and says, hey, I want to know who all you sent this to. We can just go right back in here and say, okay, well, here's the list that we sent it to. Here's the people that unsubscribed. I mean, you can get very deep into it as you want to or not. But there's just so much information that we didn't even know that we wanted or needed. But with that knowledge now, know that moving forward, like, oh yeah, wait, I can go grab that and see what that was at that time.
Yeah, I love that, where it's like the worst case scenario is covered. Worst case being like someone's demanding all of this information in a FOIA request or otherwise. And in best case, it's like we actually are following through on this project. We're seeing it come to fruition. Now we need to go follow up with the people who participated in the past, make sure we're recognizing and taking action in the context of what we heard.
Exactly.
All that's together. So cool. Well, I think one of the things that I was excited to hear you talk about is kind of like big picture, in addition to like a better process and a better experience for residents, like the things that are changing on a macro level for your org, for your team. And I had a little bit of the data there, but maybe just hearing you speak to that a little bit, we'll walk through some slides here.
Sure. It's always easy to know what's better once you've lived through something in the past. But I see the managing subscriptions here reminds me of how we used to collect our folks that wanted to be on our IP list, which was through an Access database that came through on you had to open an Excel sheet, and we had a smiley face icon that we had to click on, and only certain people could get to it. And so it was a totally manual and mundane process to add someone's information because they wanted to receive an email. Now folks have all the control over what lists that they want to be subscribed to or not. They can be subscribed via email or text. They can join and drop off as often as they want to, and that's all built in to the page where they get to maintain it themselves. We can add new list. So that was a terrible process, but it was what we had, and that's how it got started. And so that's just kind of how we maintained it. So that was actually like our first order of business when we got this platform, was to import all those lists from that database and never use it again.
Gosh, yeah. Well, and one of the exciting things is just seeing that like trend line of like each case adds new people, because like obviously there are folks that are coming back, but this total contacts that you can reach in the database with each interaction, and this is a pattern we see across a lot of organizations, is they might have a list in place, but it's not necessarily growing a whole lot. But just by having everything on the platform and with every touch point, we're building our database, be that for that project specifically or another kind of topic that they're subscribing to.
Right.
Like a few years later, you're like, gosh, we've got tens of thousands of people. In some organizations, That's like we've got half the population of our county here. But
yes,
we're building towards that.
Yeah. When you just mentioned about projects folks had participated in, that's a huge thing too. So maybe they don't subscribe to one of the interested parties lists because they don't really want to get these notifications every month or week, if however often the schedule is. But they would probably be interested to know if something was happening with this case that they had previously participated in. And so that is captured, and we are therefore able to, if we need to go back and say, hey, this case is coming back up, you participated in it before, they're going to be really happy that they got that follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's been some of our resident surveys we've done, like the biggest predictor of growing trust is, do we close the feedback loop? Do we follow up and let people know what happened after they provided input? And each time you close that feedback loop, we're just building, essentially building trust. We've always said is not like something you can get any home runs with, but you can get a lot of singles and doubles when you do it right. And so
definitely
love to see your process there. The other thing that was near and dear to my heart that you mentioned, and then I went and dug and found some data on, was the change in sentiment. And as a transportation planner, I had this feeling that our world was being shaped by a handful of voices who are either financially interested in the outcome or very opposed to the thing. And I just imagined our world being shaped in that way. I was like, we've got to get other people to the table. We've got to get, call it the middle of the bell curve, or just more voices. And so this is a sentiment chart here.
Yeah.
It's not overwhelmingly positive. These are zoning cases. We're going to have a lot of opposition. But I see some weeks and months where you're getting more positive engagement. So I guess, I'm kind of paraphrasing what you share with me, but I'd love to hear you talk more about that.
Yeah, that kind of goes full circle back to what is it that is going to push someone to participate? And almost always it's going to be that they're really against something, because we are talking about things that affect people's lives. And so it's much easier for someone to comment if they're against it than it is if they are in support of it. They're just like, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And then they just go about their day. But providing, this platform where people can provide a one-liner. I like this idea. They can do that via text message, and it's super simple. They don't have to put any more effort in, but they are actually, having their voice heard about that they're okay with this moving forward. So, that's the end goal, is to have a better picture or a glimpse of what the general public feels about it, and not just the people that are really against it.
YouTube Premium is ad-free YouTube and the YouTube Music app all together.
How does it affect everybody? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, and when I saw only 16% positive, I was like, man, I was hoping that number would be a little higher. But then you shared maybe before, was it 1 or 2% maybe?
Yeah, it was
1 in 100 people.
Really low. Yeah. And if it was, then it was somebody, that probably, like you just said, might have financial interest in it. So they said, oh, yes, I support this. Sure. This is a better visual of, what other people are thinking besides just the people that are affected by it.
Great.
Either in a bad way or financially.
Well, I think that brings us to kind of a little bit of the zoom out and the Q&A period here. But overall, it's just really exciting to see what you've achieved in just a short amount of time with the platform. And it means a lot to see the way your teams embraced it and innovated and thought of creative applications of the tech. But I really like the outcomes too. It's getting more people to the table, making a difference in the planning process. So that's what we're here for.
Yes, definitely.
With that, Tricia, I don't know if you've got anything in the chat you want us to tackle from a Q&A standpoint.
Yeah, we do have one question. If you go to the next slide, I did have a couple announcements, and I want to say, Nikki, this whole Access database, color-coded spreadsheets, and smiley face icon just sent a chill to me because I remember that the smiley face though that had me laughing. But I just wanted to say thanks again to everyone for joining us today. We're so grateful to connect with our longtime customers and those of you exploring public input. Had a couple reminders. We got the Q&A. We do have one question in there. We got two now. Thanks for using that. If you have questions, now's the time to put them in there. We'll send the recording out in 24 hours. I also put Nikki's email here, so if you want to connect with her later and have other questions, she's happy to connect with you. And then just a little plug for those of you who aren't familiar, every year we do a State of Resident Engagement report. It's coming soon. I love that you have your phone out, Jay, because I worked really hard on that QR code. That's the code and the link to last year's report if you're not familiar. Basically, we talk to residents across the U.S. about what their perceptions and experiences are engaging with government, and it helps us understand, ways we can help make it easier for them. So that's my little plug there. I'll get to the questions. The first one is about geolocation. And the question is, the location information something that staff has accessed using Google, or how is that data quantified?
Yeah, let's see if I can find that slide. Admin experience. So we looked at the reporting, I think, for some of this. So I can take a crack at it, or what do you think, Nikki?
Well, in our particular situation, we do ask people to either give us their address or at least share the closest intersection, so we can have an idea of where they're coming from. But maybe they don't want to give us their full address, so we can just have, a general location. That was just our preference, was to require people to provide that. But there are options to be completely anonymous. You don't have to give any information. And I do think there might be some geolocation things, but I'll let the expert speak to that.
Well, we really built out the geolocation things with the idea that it might not always be something where we ask for location. Obviously, you guys are really consistent with asking for it, which helps a ton. But for every person that arrives on the site, we're using kind of the same technology used by like Lowe's or Home Depot when you go and it tries to show you your nearest store when you go to their sites. Under the hood, we've got something called GeoIP, which is pulling the general location of someone. And so it's assigned that location to their profile until they provide us with something that's even better. So if they provide a zip code, or if they give us the cross streets like this person did here, or even address, getting really granular. There's a lot of different ways people can provide location on the platform. Ultimately, our job is to manage that and then put it on the maps as the step one. But I think the question was around like, how do you quantify that too? So one of the things we didn't dive into today is segmentation. If you remember the report, there's some of these pre-built segments that get set up either as part of implementation. We'll help you build these out using, if you've got GIS data to create those areas. Then as people participate, we can segment using their location them into these groups. And so you could see like the number of people that participated from that area, in terms of quantifying it that way. I know a lot of times council districts are a big deal for that. It's like, I want to hear what my constituent said. You can certainly do that with the reporting there. But happy to answer more technical deep dives as we go. If you want to follow up with us over email, we can make that happen. Maybe next one here,
the
Tricia.
next question we have from Sheila. She says, do you still have to send out notices by mail based on state code requirements?
We do to those that are within the 300-foot radius of a property. Maybe one day we could connect our public input site with our assessor data, which is how we pull that at this point. But, it just depends on what our tax assessor collects. So if they are able to collect an email address, then that would be amazing. But, when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, we are trying to notify the owners and within that radius. And so, the best information we have is their mailing address where they get their tax bill.
I love you. My name's Laura Raj. I'm 8 years old. I've been singing since I was 5.
Unfortunately.
That's right. And this is one that we could revive potentially. I mean, we're spending a lot of time thinking about like the future of land use on the platform and like how do we plug into existing systems. Like In your case, I think Tyler Intergov behind the scenes for the case records. Others might be using something like an Acela or Civic Plus. We're looking at how do we pull from there to save you even that 5 minutes it takes you to set up. If we could cut that to one. But the other side of that is parcel data. We had looked into, it was right before the pandemic. We were working on importing parcel data into the system to do that kind of site selection. The pandemic took us in some different directions. We worked a lot more on what we saw today in terms of the virtual, the meetings, and the data management. But that's somewhere I think if we hear that feedback enough, that's a direction we'll go back. So there's ways that we can certainly. I think there's different providers for mailing via API. Like we could. Anyway, I'm brainstorming now. This is what we do, and look forward to iterating on that. And I love the question. So.
Nikki, this is piggybacking on the mailing thing. Another person asked, do you include links to the site on the mailed notices?
Yes. My favorite thing, and this probably will show my age, but so each project, you can generate a QR code, which is so cool. So on those mail out letters, we always include the QR code that will take folks directly to the project page. And then we have it set up where, how to participate. And then we list out 1, participate in our survey. Here's the link. 2, send us an email. 3, you can do the survey via text, or 4, show it to the meeting. So we try to get this information out as much as possible. One of my things I would like to implement is, most of you all probably know we have posted notice requirements. So we actually go post physical signs at the location where the potential change is. For us to include the QR code on those signs is kind of my next level of implementing what we have.
Yeah. And I know there's Larimer County may have also done that, just thinking through the folks I've talked to about their land use process. I'm a QR code believer. I was a skeptic in the early days, but then they added it to our cameras.
I was too.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, who's going to download an app to get the scan? Oh, it's in the camera now.
Force you to love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
What we got next?
Okay, next question. Are we able to implement inspection requests or permit applications?
I think we've had some cases where that process is more closely tied to like the follow-up after a permit application, like, hey, how was your experience? Or after an inspection, we've seen those where we can do a programmatic follow-up with the resident. And I think it'd be a good one to dive into in terms of what that would look like. Obviously, some of those might be more public than others. I'm not sure how much you want to put those onto a public portal, but you could put those onto a portal. So definitely something to explore there. Short answer is I think so. Let's dive in.
Well, this one's kind of piggybacking that public portal. This person asked, Nikki, are your public input pages serving as your official project web pages as well?
Yes. Yep. So we have actually moved so we used to post it on our county webpage, and we do still keep some records there, like official meeting minutes and that sort of thing. But it's just made it easier that we're not having to work with the IT department to do all of our, posting work for us. So we have now redirected anyone that visits our planning webpage is then redirected directly to our public input pages to get information on the cases and agendas.
Yeah, I think a really big point around, again, the resident trust thing is using a subdomain of the county website for it. So a lot of residents, unless they're sending it to a public input email address, you may not even notice that they're on a public input site. It's all Charleston County's branding and engage.charlestoncounty.org.
Mm-hmm.
So all those things kind of add up to an experience that feels like the website anyway. So
exactly. Yeah, so it's been great that we've been able to take a lot more ownership of, instead of saying, okay, dear IT, please upload this packet. Oh, I don't like how you formatted it. Can you please rephrase this? Now we have the control over doing our own posting and everything. So that's made it really nice.
Awesome. Well, the 45 minutes flew by. I love these questions. We'll follow up. We've got a couple more that queued up just now. We should probably wrap and give folks back the time here.
Made it just in time. I'll follow up with the rest of the answers via email with the recording. I hope everyone has a really good day. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Tricia.
And
Thank
please
you,
reach
Nikki.
out if you have direct questions. I'm happy to work with anybody.
That's awesome. All right. We'll see y'all. Thanks again.
Good job, Nikki.
But yeah, it's been very exciting to use that platform and just kind of seeing how it's grown over a short time using it and how easy it is. I mean, we have 3 or 4 staff members that can use it independently from my assistants at this point, and we hope to add on a few more. And then also, as Andrea said at the beginning, it's become a county-wide program, so we're in the process of integrating some of the other departments to use it as well. So, and at the end of the day, it should be a one-stop shop for all county input to be collected on this one site.
Is there, what was the thought process of not requiring an address? Because I know you said the corner of so-and-so, but ultimately, I think decision makers like to know where these people are, and are they legitimate?
That was something that we definitely went back and forth on, of letting you be, they call it a light login, so you can be somewhat anonymous. You do still have to provide your name, hopefully you provide the correct name.
Right.
But they had suggested that even just getting someone to put in a clear, close intersection to where their home is, if they didn't want to advertise, hey, I live at this specific address, at least getting close to where they are so that you all would be able to see that they are in that neighborhood or whatnot. But that's one of those things that we kind of decided to go for it and play it by ear. If it was something that you all were like, hey, we really want to know these people's addresses, we could easily make that change in the way that we collect the information. So yeah, just kind of see how it goes. If that's something that you all or county council was interested in, then we could make that change pretty easily.
Well, these days I can certainly understand why people don't want to put their full address in.
Right, and I think that especially too with the demographics, I've done it myself where I'll answer a questionnaire and then it will start asking me demographic questions, and I'm like, never mind. I'm all the way from this page now. So I'm trying to really limit it down to few specific things that could give us information but not be too much where somebody's just over it at that point.
On the geographics of location, I saw there was a lot of pings in Charlotte. Do you think that's pinging like an ISP address that's coming from there, or do you think you're actually getting that much response? It just seems odd that you'd be getting that.
Yeah, I do think there was one particular case where we had a lot of people that were in the same area, and I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Tinder. But I am curious about that because my phone usually thinks I'm in Atlanta, Mr. Goes, and not so. When it says future location, you're like, well, why did
Atlanta from here.
I do wonder if that is an issue at times. You mentioned that there are some geolocating features where it will pick up when you're near a certain store. So I don't know if it makes it a little bit better than just wherever your phone thinks you are. But that is kind of a question mark that I've had.
I would hate to dismiss those comments because we think they're in Charlotte, when in reality, I guess that's just how their cell phone connected with that.
Yeah, and that's where we would probably depend more on the one demographic question, asking them, do you own property in Charleston County? Do you live in Charleston County? Those could kind of point us in a different direction too. So if it says that you're in Charlotte, but you say you own property in this neighborhood, then
We're double-sided now.
the bucket that we would put you in.
Nikki, do you find that there's certain demographics that the ones that will fill it out, you find there's a certain age group that's doing this, or is it depending on case-by-case basis?
Yeah, I think it's a case-by-case basis. Obviously a lot of the historic districts, they will have a lot of community input, and that's probably just from them going through the process themselves to become designated. They understand how important that is
allow that it's, you know, just as easy as you fill out the text. Because the text actually communicates back and forth. So it'll ask you a question, if you have any comments. You would write out your comment, and it will ask you, you know, a demographic question. And it is funny, a lot of times you'll see, thank you so much for the help, but it's like, oh, did they think they were talking? You know, going back and forth. So that is something that I do kind of plan on looking at maybe on an annual basis, is kind of looking at it overall of how many folks do we have utilize the different formats. Mainly just for fun of you know, like kind of noticing, okay, well, we had a ton of emails, we've only had a handful of texts, we had a lot of voicemails. Yeah.
How many contacts do you have now?
I think it's about 3,000. Yeah, a lot of people add themselves whenever they get, whenever they comment and they, you know, then are registered and they have an email, then they'll go ahead and sign up for whatever it is that they want to be in.
Okay. Pretty cool.
It's a really good platform.
So, can you estimate like how much quicker things can get done with this, or is it? I mean, if it's too hard, I was just wondering, you know, like, does it cut your workload in half or a quarter, or?
Yeah, I mean, what would you say, Marche? Marche's my backup, so she's had a lot to do with this.
Definitely, because we don't have these, they just like almost all day sometimes they count comments.
Yeah.
And now we can get it done in like an hour. You know?
Yeah, because usually we'll get, you know, we'll have all the comments in one place, and then, like I mentioned, we'll tag them. So we read each one line by line. Is it opposition? Is it a general comment? We'll go through and tag them, so that kind of helps us keep count over time, so we're not just kind of doing it all at one time at the end. Once the deadline hits, then we start counting. But you remember the treehouse, the bulk treehouse days. That's the main thing that has always kind of driven my interest in how we collect this information, how we keeping up with the hundreds of emails that we got today, and then we have people say, well, I didn't see my email in there. Well, we haven't updated it yet. Like, it was just so much to keep it together and feel comfortable that we had provided you all everything that we got. You know, nothing got left out. So I would say that's at least half the time, if not more.
Plus all the time we would spend were people calling in or emailing, I want to be on your interested party for this, or take me off your interested party for that, and then emailing IT, here's our packet, can you upload it, and then checking it, and then, oh, we don't like the way this is, you need to fix that, and then checking it again. So it takes away a lot of that stuff too, which is great for us. And for IT too, they don't have to deal with us.
The binder used to be the...
Yeah, really thick. Yeah.
All of the information that we saw, it's all very interesting and sort of almost beyond me. I need to go and look at all of this stuff now. But is all of the stuff that we saw available to people who access the platform? All, everything?
Yeah.
Wow. There's no excuse.
Yeah, so we usually keep up last month and the current month, so probably all of the planning commission, whatever's gone before planning commission the last couple of months. And then as it goes through the council process, all of those projects stay live on the site. And so after planning commission, we'll reopen it for public comment through the council process, and they can keep commenting throughout. And we provide council with a memo with a link to the project page, so that that's constantly updated too with any new comments that come in.
A small thing that I thought was interesting, I don't know whether I took it right, but you said that the comments that came in after the meeting, I've never seen a comment about the planning commission after the meeting. Do we record?
Well, now you can click on the link.
Well, no, I know, but I never knew we were doing that.
Yeah.
Well, that would
do
be
you
for
censor it?
going to the public hearing. So
Sorry?
those would be comments after you will make your recommendation, but before it goes to council public hearing. So that's another period where we open it back up.
That's for them to look at, council.
Okay, not for us to consider.
Right. But
Right.
like, again, we already made
But
our
we could go
decision.
look at it. We could go see what the what the outcome was. I mean, what the the input was.
So if I wanted to filter it by all of the permit, rezoning, everything applications within Ollendale, could I do that?
To subscribe to a list?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you could do two different things. You could subscribe to the East area interested parties list, so you would get any cases that were in that area, you would get a notification. But then also there's the case map, and it has little dots, or if it's a larger tract of land, we'll draw, we'll try to outline the parcels included. So you can just kind of poke around the map and see, okay, there's, a couple of these lead cases, there's a Historic Preservation Commission case and a rezoning case, all in the East area, and click on the different dots on the map to get more information and go to a page.
But if you're looking for more permitting stuff that isn't going to a board or something, we have recently opened up our permitting software, EnterGov, for the public to look at the permits and search the permits and on their own without having to contact us.
Is it that easy? As easy as the format was just saying?
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
It's on the Engage Charleston.
That is on our portal, our customer service portal. Yeah, you can go, it's a different, because it's our permitting system that we're tied in with building services and stormwater as well for issuing permits. So there's things like through site plan review, you can see, the only thing we don't have on there are our code cases. So your code cases, code enforcement.
And people have been bad.
Yes, right. That's not on there.
But it's only active cases plus 1 month. It's not a database of things.
So what Andrea is talking about is all of our permitting. So that is really for FOIA purposes. People will say, can you send us a copy of this permit that you just issued? Right. We made that all publicly available to an extent. It doesn't have everything on there. So that's for any zoning permits, any cases you all see, I believe you'd be able to see on there. And it's really just an approval. You might be able to see who the applicant is, some dates and those sorts of things. If somebody got site plan review approval or a subdivision application, where it is in its state. So that's on our permitting software, customer portal. But then on this Engage site, we'll show the full case project page for the last couple of months.
So once that case moves on, it's archived or?
Yep. So that's another nice thing about the site is you can actually delete anything. So even if somebody accidentally said delete the project, it is in there. So we would be able to go back.
You just have to go find it.
Right. It's basically hidden from the public pages. So it's a ton of cases. It has 10 a month. So their page usually has about 20 or so. And then our other big page is obviously our ZLDR amendment page, which is just, we aren't creating a new page every time we have a new set come to you all. We have it all in one page. So historically, that will have a ton of information as far as input. We could go back, a few years and say, hey, look, this is all the input we got about those short-term rental amendments that we did in 2026. We'd be able to go back and pull that information pretty easily.
Cool. Good. Anything else?
So we get a credit for this too?
Yep, you do.
For an hour and a half because of the credit.
Yeah, you get credit. Yeah, you can get credit. Yeah, make sure we all get our credits. Except for Logan. He didn't have any. Okay. All right. Is there any business that anybody wants to bring up? There's no further business. This training workshop stands adjourned. As a reminder, the Planning Commission will hold its annual meeting on Monday, March 9th at noon in the committee room, followed by the regularly scheduled Planning Commission meeting at 2 p.m. That's the one where lunch will be served. All right.